So thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Voices of Joy. I am Janifer Wheeler, also known as the Joyful Badass Whisperer. I'm the CEO and founder of Wheelhouse Lifestyle Solutions. I work with organizations and business leaders to create more diverse, equitable, and inclusive organizations based on the foundation of joyful workplaces. So today I have a question for you. Have you ever found yourself overwhelmed, frustrated, disgusted, in a toxic environment, in a toxic relationship, in a toxic workplace, or in any other situation where things were just not quite what they needed to be and you were constantly looking for a way out? Or maybe it was manifesting itself in stress, difficulty sleeping. Maybe you had to drink a lot of coffee or alcohol to deal with your day or what you know you needed to do next. Perhaps you found yourself constantly hitting the snooze button and wishing for the weekend or just waiting for the end of the day when you could leave and head back home. I was in that place about 8 years ago when I was still an elementary school teacher. So every day I would think about, what I wanted to do when I got home versus so much about what I wanted to do or be while I was at school. So in 2012, I decided to leave the classroom and become an entrepreneur. Now that journey has also been difficult because being an entrepreneur is not easy. And I struggled with that because obviously teaching is my background, but I've worked in businesses, so I have an idea of how that works. But having to do my own, starting my own, all those pieces that are included, I sometimes felt quite clueless. So in my struggle, I reached out to someone for help. Last year, I hired a marketing and consulting, business development consultant at Shannon Hernandez. And Shannon's first statement to me, basically, after, "What are you doing?" she asked me about how joyful what I was doing felt. And when she said, "Is it joyful?" I didn't really know how to respond other than no, and no, and no, and no. And so what I discovered is lots of things in my business development were not joyful. And part of that was because I wasn't really aligned with my values. I really didn't know who I was. I felt like I had done a tremendous amount of self-discovery and work around self-awareness, but something was still missing. And what was missing from the classroom and what was missing from my business in 2019 was the simple concept of joy. I now know that joy is not only a life strategy, it is also a business strategy. Last summer, I was fortunate enough to participate in a program called the Joy Money Matrix, created by Lauren Fritsch. And I loved it so much, I became a facilitator. And through this program, or this experience, we worked through all the stuff that we're doing and how can we analyze those tasks and activities and find the joy. Are they joyful? Are they making me money? And if the answer to those two things were no, then I had to take a second look. And in order to get a true glimpse into that second look, or to really validate it and use it, I had to get connected with my intuition. Does this feel joyful? Does it feel unjoyful? Do I need to do something about it? And the second thing I would encourage you to do is get connected with who you are in terms of values. So there's a book called The Values Factor by John DeMartini, and it helped me so much to get really clear on what I value. And what I now know is that I value freedom, which is a huge indicator as to why there was a disconnect between me and regular teaching. It's very structured. You can hardly go to the bathroom or eat lunch, much less do just whatever you want. And even though I love structure and process, and I don't think we can be very successful without it, I also know that I now need freedom to create my day, choose my schedule, and make things work for me. And ultimately look for those things that bring me joy. Without the value of freedom and knowing that and acknowledging that, I don't think I would be as connected to my joy and the things that I do on a regular basis that bring me joy. One particular thing that brings me loads and loads of joy is teaching and speaking to groups, especially groups of women, which is where I met Brenda, the wonderful person behind this entire initiative. I met her in London when I was speaking at the Women's Economic Forum, a big international conference for women. And it was empowering for me. And I know I walked away empowering other people. And so that alone just gives me deep and great joy. So I encourage you to find your joy by getting connected with your intuition, getting connected with your values, and taking a deep dive at what you are doing on a daily basis, both at work and at home, and look for those places where you have joy and the places where you don't have joy. Because if you don't have joy, you can delegate, redesign, or just dump that all together. So my name is Janifer Wheeler. I'm the Joyful Badass Whisperer, and I am very grateful to be part of Voices of Joy. I look forward to sharing all the joy with you